Scream is a 2024 slasher film directed by Michael Levy. He and Jason Levy and Stephen Delasalas, they are all the creative team and have worked on Terrifier 2 and 3, which I am familiar with but have not seen. The first one either, with Damien Leone. So this one has a little bit of hype because the association with those other films. And I didn't really have any expectations going into this film because I haven't seen those, but I enjoy slasher movies, and there's an Instagram called Slasher Trash that I follow, and he reviews really old, obscure slasher films, like really obscure, like not popular ones, like ones that are like micro budget. And this one popped up, and I didn't know the plot or anything. I just went on a lark because the movie theater in my city was playing it once a day, probably for a week, I guess. So I wanted to take it down. This one's about a family man named Roy. He's a little bit disillusioned with his kids. There's Kevin. He's wants to be a streamer, so he plays video games a lot. And then there's his daughter Taylor. She's a more rebellious, older teen. So his wife Elaine says that they should maybe go on a family trip to bond. So they decide to go to the Pines Resort. It's like this middle of the nowhere sort of motel place, I guess. However, it's been taken over by Lockwood. Lockwood is a mysterious man who kills the previous proprietor and has outfitted his own staff, and they're going to change and lock down the place for a game where 4 sadistic killers will kill everyone on the premises. No one can leave, and everything's going to be live streamed with cameras, just on the surveillance videos, not on the people. So this is an interesting sort of movie. I didn't know going into this movie super long. It's 2 hours, 10 minutes, which is very long for a slasher movie. Definitely felt long. But I kind of feel like this movie suffers from indie film indulgence, where they don't cut things they should, because there's no way a slasher should be over 2 hours long. There's just too many characters, too much going on in this film. For starters, the opening sequence is really cheap looking and really long and boring. And then we don't get the kill. There's like 5 characters in this movie that don't get shown being killed, but we see the aftermath, and I'm like, that's kind of a waste, because we watch slasher films to watch people get killed in creative ways, not to see the aftermath or just cut to black. So there's definitely too many characters in this film. And the first actual gory kill, we don't get it till about 30 minutes into the film, which is a really long time. And there's just too many guests staying. There's too much talking. I mean, the only one, I tip my hat to the main villain, Jeffrey Combs from Reanimator. He is giving it his all. He's playing like an evil sort of a game master, kind of carnival barker kind of role. Really, he carries the entire film on his back, essentially. He's almost doing like an evil Bruce Campbell kind of performance. Bruce Campbell probably would have been a great choice for this role too, but he essentially is the game master. He's in control. He's like watching everything on the screens, and he can, you know, manipulate things and the lights and things like that. The only other people that do a really good job are Daniel Roebuck as a drunk guest. He has 2 great sequences that just steals the show, and Danielle Harris as Elaine, the mom. I didn't even realize it was her for about an hour, and then I was like, oh wow, that's Danielle Harris. But the movie just lacks a lot of details. It's very generic. I like the plot, but essentially these 4 killers don't have any personality at all. They don't have any dialogue, for starters. And the 4 of them look like Purge rejects. They're just wearing skull masks. And there's a big guy. There's a guy with a hoodie, and then there's a brother-sister duo, which is explained in the film. So I don't really know how the point system works either, because it's not really fair, because the brother and sister share kills, but it's like giving them an advantage because there's 2 of them. The only one that has any cool sort of gravitas is the big guy. He was probably a wrestler in real life, but he like just violently slaps a guy in one of the kill scenes, and like he looks like he could be a cool successor. They should have given him like a cool name, like Ripper or something, or like they don't even have unique weapons. They just have all sorts of weapons on them, like blades and knives. It just seems kind of very threadbare. And the kills are pretty solid. There's plenty of them. There's a few here and there, but overall it's too long. The movie needs to cut down the character development. You know, you think you need character development for this family, but not really. I mean, if you have nothing going on for a solid 30 minutes in your film, you need to like trim some stuff down. There's a lot of stuff going on with the daughter, and she like meets these 2 French guys, and there's like a whole subplot of them, you know, hanging out or whatever. It's just too much on the screen, not enough. A lot of dead air. In between the action bits, it's very boring. And You know, the gore is great, but the story just needs to be pared down. I think the real kicker for me, though, is the ending is really terrible, and it really sucks the air out of the entire film. It just sort of just makes it up as it goes along. It could have been written better. And then they have a post-credit sequence with some horror legend cameos, and they just feel so out of place because they don't have anything to do. It's like, if you could get Jamie Lee Curtis to be in your movie for whatever reason, like let's say she's a friend of someone on the set or something, and you're like, oh, I would love to have Jamie Curtis in my movie, and she's just like sitting on a patio reading a book for 10 seconds and she kind of waves. You don't need to have that in the movie. It just doesn't matter because it's too distracting. This movie could have been the new Saw franchise, to be honest, because the concept is that this organization will go up to a building, take over, kill the guards or whatever, or, you know, set up a cell phone jammer, cut off the Wi-Fi, lock it down, let the killers in, and just let them go to town and massacre everyone and film it for people betting and sickos online. And that could be like a different scenario. Every entry you could have a different building. Like the end of the movie, they go to a hospital, and so you could have like a school, you could have like a movie theater like they do in the post-credit sequence, and then you could have a different host, you know, a different horror legend being a host, and then you can have a different set of killers. But the movie just didn't put enough emphasis on the design of the characters, too much character development for the family. Just not a lot of theme or anything. It feels a little bit pretentious, like it wants to be like this epic slasher movie when you don't have to do that. You have to at least just make an entertaining movie on its own, and if you want to add an extra little twist here or there, you can, but you have to stick with the basics. Have a good opening kill, have a final girl, have all this and that. But if you try to deviate too much from the core skeleton of a simple slasher, then you find yourself in a lot of trouble. So Stream is an interesting little offering. Good gore. I like certain aspects, like the performances from the main villain and the mom, but everyone else is just sort of running around asking for help and things like that. Couple twists, bad ending. So I give Stream a 5.5 out of 10.